Hello, my lovely friend, and welcome to the Soul Care Intuitive Podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Grubbs, and in this podcast, we're going to show you that you're not just ordinary, you're extraordinary. I never had any spiritual experiences as a child, and I did not discover my own psychic abilities until my late 30s. I love to share all that I have learned to show you that we all already have these skills inside of us, just screaming to be let loose. So if you're ready to awaken your soul, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Hello, and welcome back to the Soul Care Intuitive Podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Grubbs, and I'm so excited to have you back. In this episode, I want to talk about the number one question I receive as a mediumship mentor and spiritual coach. What do I do when my gifts start turning on? What do I do when I acknowledge and know that I have these gifts inside of me and I want to learn how to access them? In this episode today, we're going to be talking about several tips that I have for you when you are opening and expanding the gifts that are already innately a part of you. The very first tip I want to give you, and it's my personal favorite, is a journal. This journal is going to become your guide. It's going to become your best friend. Your journal is going to become your eyes and ears throughout the process of developing your spiritual gifts. Whether that be your psychic gifts that you're unlocking or your mediumship gifts or both. Your journal is going to show you who you are. Your journal is going to show you patterns. Your journal is going to show you your strengths and your weaknesses. So let's dive into all of that a little bit. Your journal is going to show you who you are, meaning you have your own personal characteristics, your own ways of learning, your own ways of speaking, and your own ways of understanding things that are happening to you in your everyday life and in your psychic development. Your journal is going to show you patterns about yourself, about how you receive information, how you give information. It's going to show you strengths and weaknesses. So part of psychic development is the clairs, and I'm going to do a full dive in another episode about the clairs, but just know that these are your psychic senses and your ways of picking up information, whether you hear it, see it, feel it, or many more. Your journal is going to be able to show you where your strongest ability is. When I first started my mediumship journey, my strongest was clairvoyance. And I realized that as I was going back through my journal to reflect on the readings that I had given. You see, when I do my mediumship sessions, I write everything down that happens. Everything I see, everything I tell the client, everything I feel, hear. Even things that I'm not sure of, I will write them down because they have made sense to me later. Or I have had a client come back to me 6 months later and say, oh my gosh, in that reading you said this and I understand it now. So I document everything in my journal so that I can see what's happening inside of me and what's happening with my psychic development. So my strongest ability was clairvoyance, being able to clearly see the information. And I would see it in my mind. It's actually very rare to see it outside with your physical eyes, but some can. And I was realizing as I was going through my journal that I was heavily relying on my clairvoyance. I also was realizing that I wanted to be like the mediums you see on TV. They have these huge grand visions and they can see these colors and people and spirits. And I was trying to emulate that. And I realized that I wasn't putting my own characteristics into my psychic development, my mediumship development. I was relying on clairvoyance, seeing the information, and I was discarding the rest of all the information coming through. And I only realized that after I went back through my journal. When I noticed that pattern, I said to myself, I'm going to start strengthening and building up my other clairs, and I'm not going to solely rely on clairvoyance. I personally believe as a psychic and a medium that you are strongest when you have all of your channels open and you work on developing all of those channels and those clairs within your body. And your journal is going to show you where you're strongest at and where you're the weakest at, so you know what to focus on and you know what to practice with. So for example, I'll take it back to me. I wanted to work on clairsentience, and that's clear feeling. You will feel the information. Sometimes I might feel it as a pain in my chest, or I might feel it as having difficulty breathing, or I might feel an emotion of just immense joy and happiness. So you feel in different ways, in different manners. And I knew that I wanted to build up my clairsentience. I do have a really fun one for you. And again, we're going to dive into the clairs more. But clairgustance is the ability to taste information. And I was in a reading with this beautiful woman, and her husband came through, and I kept tasting mustard in my mouth. And I thought, oh, that's so weird. And I didn't want to say mustard. What does mustard mean? And I finally got the courage and I said, I'm tasting mustard. And she busted out laughing so hard because her husband put mustard on everything. So this really meant something to my client, and it made me think about making sure that I'm becoming a whole, authentic psychic and medium by opening up all of my channels, all of my clairs. And your journal is going to show you where you need more practice. The next tip I want to give you is about meditation. And I know that's not for everyone, but just go with me for a moment. When you are working on developing your psychic and mediumistic abilities, you are honing in the ability to pick up information outside of you. You are blending with spirit for a mediumship reading, so you are learning to connect to that information and understand your body and what your body is trying to tell you this spirit is giving to you after it blends with you. You are trying to understand the thoughts that spirit is giving to you. You're trying to taste the mustard. I might make that a t-shirt. Should I make that a t-shirt? You guys got to let me know. Taste the mustard. It sounds kind of funny, but if you know, and it makes total sense. I'm going to think about that. Anyway, so you are working on understanding that information. And when your mind is constantly full of thoughts, I have to pay that bill. I got to drive my daughter to the dance class. I need to go to the dentist. Oh, I've got to schedule that appointment. I've got work. Your mind is constantly going with thoughts. It makes it really hard to center and ground yourself so that you can focus on spirit, so that you can understand what spirit is trying to impress upon you. I found in the beginning of my journey, I didn't like to meditate, and it's very hard and uncomfortable to do so when you're not used to just sitting there. Our world is full of distractions with cell phones, with tablets, with computers, with televisions, that we are so used to having something outside of us distract and take away our attention that when we sit in meditation to be quiet, it's very unnerving, it's very awkward, it's hard to sit there and stay there. But I can tell you that at the beginning of my journey, I kept pushing myself to keep doing it. And I started with 3 minutes. Yes, literally just 3 minutes, because my body was just so used to having a distraction that it was hard to sit there longer than that. And I remember telling myself, I'm not good enough. This is ridiculous. These 3 minutes aren't doing anything. But those 3 minutes turned into 5. And then those 5 minutes turned into 10. And then those 10 minutes turned into 20. Now, 90% of the time, 20 minutes is where I like to meditate. That's kind of like my sweet spot. But there's some times where I will come out of a meditation and it's been an hour. So it's really dependent upon you and your needs and what you want to do for your meditation practice. But even if you can only start with 3 minutes, I highly encourage you to meditate, quiet your mind. And what you're going to do is just sit there in silence. And when you see a thought come in or you hear a thought, you notice a thought, You want to just acknowledge it and say, okay, and let it go. No judgment. Don't be mad at yourself. Your mind is programmed to constantly be thinking, constantly. And when you're meditating, all you're simply doing is getting in the habit and getting in the practice of slowing down, calming down, and noticing these thoughts coming in and letting them go. And the more that you do that, the more that you are programming those neurons in your mind to pick up information, to understand information, to quiet your mind. And then spirit can come in and give you that information that you can pick up on. When you're sitting there thinking, I have bills, I have to take my daughter, I have to get this appointment, I have to go to the dentist, there's no room in there for spirit to blend with you and talk to you. But when you get used to quieting your mind and releasing those thoughts, there's room for spirit to come in and give you information. My next tip is sitting in the power. And this is also going to be a deep dive in another episode because I have so much to say about sitting in the power. I absolutely love it. It is my go-to technique. And it's something I even do when I'm not doing a mediumship reading because sitting in the power connects you to you. It connects you to Creator. But again, I'm going to dive very deep into that in another podcast episode. But for the sake of this one, sitting in the power is a technique that you can use to build up your energy and to connect to Creator. Now, when I say Creator, that's how I see this energy, but you and I are all one. We all come from the same source. And you might see that as God, you might see that as the universe, as Creator, as source. And so I might use these words interchangeably throughout the podcast, but that is how I see it as Creator. And when you're doing a sitting in the power, you are connecting directly to Creator. Now, if it's hard for you to visualize and process that at the same time, I do have a guided sitting in the power meditation on my website, soulcareintuitive.com. What this is doing is getting your spirit aligned, getting you quiet. It's kind of like a meditation, and connecting you directly to Creator to receive healing, to receive information, and to recharge your body. So you are a life force. You have life force energy inside of you. Creator is life force, and Creator provides life force. So I like to look at sitting in the power as a plug that you can plug into to charge your body back up with life force energy that you already have from Creator, that you already are from. But as you're plugging into this charge to recharge your body, you're healing your body, you're healing your cells, you're connecting to Source, which is giving you that boost of connection to Spirit as well, teaching you how to connect to Spirit. And there's so many more benefits of sitting in the power. But if you want to get started on that journey, go on my website, purchase the Sitting in the Power meditation. It's very powerful, very strong, and amazing to help you connect and recharge your energy. We all have stress and anxiety. We all have jobs and lives and children, bills to pay, mortgages to look after, homes to clean up. And so we get tired, we get drained, and this is a way to heal and recharge our bodies. One of the other things that you can do, and it's going to be something that you think is counterintuitive, but I promise you it's not, is self-care. When I first started on my mediumship journey, I was so heavily focused on mediumship. I wanted it so bad. I knew I could do it, and the first taste of mediumship left me wanting so much more. But I put the rest of my life to the side. I remember when I would work out, I would feel so guilty that I wasn't meditating. Or if I was watching television, I would feel so guilty that I wasn't journaling. But in reality, I was not doing myself any favors. My mental and emotional health was not where it needed to be in order to make the best psychic and mediumistic connections. I was stressing myself out with anxiety, saying, I'm not doing enough. When I needed to lay down, I felt guilty. But needing to lay down is a part of the human experience. We need rest. Self-care is a form of love. And when you love yourself, your body feels it and your body knows it. And you can use that love, that gratitude you have for yourself in your mediumship and psychic practices. Don't push yourself too hard. Go slow. Especially if you're a parent, I know that there is so much guilt around taking time for yourself. But even if you have 5 to 10 minutes to do a meditation, you've done a great job for the day. You've done something to set aside time for your practice, for your development. Don't allow yourself to get in that trap of, I'm not doing enough. If you're setting the time aside to practice and learn, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe you have an hour that day, great. But self-love is so important on this journey because you are a soul, you are a person. And in order to connect to another soul, you need to be as supercharged and feeling good as you can. And when you don't do self-love tasks and you overwork yourself and you push yourself too hard, you're going to burn out, you're going to be full of anxiety and full of stress. And that, my friends, will not help you connect to spirit or connect for psychic readings. Self-love is a form of healing yourself. And when you heal yourself, you are becoming a more open and clear channel. Don't do what I did and make yourself feel guilty and ashamed for not having laser-focused vision on your psychic development. You have a life to live. You have a body to heal, a body to respect and love. And when you use that love and you heal that body, you can connect better. You can become a better psychic and a better medium. And when you sit down to practice, when you're not burned out, not anxious, not stressed out, you'll want to practice. You'll feel better about yourself. So if there's anything you take out of this video, self-care is the most important part of your development. The final thing I want to say is to just go for it. When I first started my journey, I was so afraid to tell anyone. I was so afraid to practice because I didn't want to look dumb. I didn't want to look like I didn't know what I was doing. But when I found a group on Facebook that had mediums in there where I could post to give a practice reading where the person knew I was learning, it helped me to feel better. I do have my own private Facebook group where you can do just that. I will link it down in the description. But what I would do is I would put a post to say, hey, I'm learning, I'm practicing. Is there anybody that would let me practice with them? And this kind of took the pressure off so that they would know I'm practicing. But it took my abilities to the next level because I could see where my wins were. I could see where I wasn't connecting. I could understand more where my psychic ability was stronger in this area and not so much in this area. And the only way to know that is to just go for it. I know it's hard when you're first starting out, and I know that you're having these fears of judgment, which we all have. I still have them sometimes and I process through those and I just go for it. That's what I want you to do. Just go for it. You are strong and powerful and capable of more things than you ever give yourself credit for. So when you start learning psychic and mediumistic abilities and skills within yourself and you're opening them up, just dive in and practice. Find a group that you feel comfortable in. Use mine if you would like. And just go for it. Create a post and say you're practicing and you're learning and you want to connect to give practice readings, whether that be a psychic reading or a mediumistic reading. The best advice I can give you is to just go for it. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. I would appreciate so much if you left me a 5-star review. Every review counts and it means so much to me. You can also view on YouTube with closed captioning and subtitles, and I'll link that down below. But please remember to leave me some comments on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the video, as it does push these out and get me to the audience that needs me. Thank you again so much, my lovely friend. I'll see you in the next episode of the Soul Care Intuitive podcast.